Today, I'm going to show you how I make fried chicken and spaghetti for dinner. This video was requested by a commenter in one of my other recipe videos. This is going to be good. So to start, I'm working with 4 pounds of chicken. Here I have 2.5 pounds of whole chicken wings and like 1.5 pounds of drumettes. I've cut off the tips from the wings. So now I'm going to create a brine. I have a quart of water. And to that, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of salt. I'm using a fine salt. I'm also going to be adding 2 tablespoons of an all-purpose seasoning salt. And the brand that I'm using, I'm going through my second bottle of this. I really like this, but you can use whatever blends or all-purpose seasoning salts that you prefer. Okay, so now I'm going to add whatever's left of this Louisiana hot sauce. I'd say about 2 to 3 tablespoons works for this brine. I'm going to give everything a good mix. And now I'm going to pour it over my chicken pieces. Since I'm working with bone-in chicken, I'm going to cover this with cling film and let it marinate and brine for a minimum of 6 hours overnight for best results. Here are the ingredients for the spaghetti meat sauce. I'm working with 1 pound of lean ground beef. This is a 90-10 meat to fat ratio. I'm also going to be working with 12 ounces of beef hot dogs. Use the brand or type you prefer. This is what I like to use. I'm also going with 24 ounces of tomato puree. Here I have 6 ounces of tomato paste. And I'll say this is optional. I know it might be hard for you to find it, but I'm using a 1/2 cup of banana sauce. If you can't find this, you can omit this from the recipe. It'll still be fine. Here I'm working with 1/2 of a small onion that I diced, 3 cloves of minced garlic, and I have some beef stock. You could also use beef broth. For the next ingredient, I will say this is optional. You can definitely use regular sugar, but I'm going with some palm candy that I had in my pantry, and I'm going with 2 ounces of this palm candy. You can do 3 to 4 tablespoons of regular sugar in place of this. So let's put it together in a pot. I have a preheated pot with cooking oil. I'm going to saute my onions. I'm adding a pinch of salt, and I'm just going to saute well. Next, I'm going to add my pound of lean ground beef. And I'm just going to continue to saute the onions and brown and cook the meat. I'm also going to add another 1/2 teaspoon of salt to the ground meat. And with this ground beef, you definitely can use ground pork. This is a Filipino-style spaghetti sauce. So some of the ingredients I'm using are different than maybe a more authentic spaghetti sauce or Filipino-style spaghetti sauce. Here I'm adding my garlic now that the ground meat is cooked. And I'm going to continue the saute. Now I'm going to add all of my chopped hot dogs and use the one that you can find. I like the beef smoky kind in this, but it really is up to you. I'm going to saute these well. Here I'm adding the full can or the full 6 ounces of tomato paste, and I'm going to combine this well and cook it for about 5 to 7 minutes. Now it's time to add my banana sauce. I'm adding a 1/2 cup and a tablespoon of soy sauce. I'm going to give this a good mix. Now I'm going to add the palm candy. You can just add the regular sugar and the tomato puree. I'm going to use a little bit of that beef stock and swish it about into the jar with the tomato puree to get any residual sauce out of there. And going in is about 1.5 cups of beef stock. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt. Salt and seasoning is to your taste and preference, by the way. Give this a good mix. And once everything is combined and you kind of break apart that palm candy, I'm going to cover with a lid, bring it to a gentle boil or a simmer. I'm going to lower the heat and let it cook at minimum or let it simmer for about 30 minutes, longer if you've got the time. So I have had my chicken sitting on the counter for about 45 minutes. I'm going to remove it from the brine, and I'm going to show you the dredges that I'm going to make to coat the chicken pieces. Here I have a 1/2 cup of cold water. To that I'm going to add 2 large eggs, and I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of that all-purpose seasoning that I used in the chicken brine. Now I'm going to give it a good mix. I'm going to add half a cup of all-purpose flour, give it a mix, and I'm going to add another half cup. So in all, 1 cup of flour into the wet ingredients. Give it a mix until a batter forms. And then I'm going to pour this over my marinated brined chicken. For the flour dredge, I have 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and I've added some of that all-purpose seasoning, and I'm just going to combine well. I would say add a couple of teaspoons or maybe a tablespoon of that seasoning mix into the flour. Once my cooking oil has preheated to around 360 degrees Fahrenheit, it's time to fry the chicken. So I'm going to take my chicken pieces that have been coated in that wet batter and just dredge them in the seasoned flour. And once I get 3 to 4 pieces coated, I'm going to shake off the excess flour and put it right into my fry oil. The cook time will vary depending on how cold your chicken is, which is why I let mine set on the counter for at least 45 minutes. But for bone-in chicken pieces, whole wings take about 12 minutes. The drumettes take about 8. So I will be removing the smaller pieces or the drumettes first. Takes about 8 minutes to fry. And I'm going to let the whole chicken wings continue to cook for an extra 4 minutes. Now I know this chicken is piping hot, but I have to try one of the drumettes. It's totally worth me burning my mouth. So while the last batch of chicken is frying, I'm going to go ahead and prep the spaghetti. I've added salt to boiling water. And by the way, my sauce is simmering on low. It is ready. I just want to keep it warm. So I'm going to add my spaghetti into the boiling water. Cook time varies depending on the brand or type of spaghetti you're using. I'm going to cook mine for about 10 minutes. So my chicken is done and it is fried to golden brown perfection and it smells amazing. So my pasta is ready. I'm going to drain everything and start making plates. Everyone is so hungry. I have some spaghetti on a plate. I'm going to ladle on my Filipino-style spaghetti sauce. By the way, if you haven't figured it out or didn't read the comment that I posted earlier, but this is inspired by Jollibee. Hopefully I said that right. Jollibee. I actually have a Jollibee in my area, but I did want to show one of my subscribers what it's like to make it at home. I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.